That are out there. So can I count on you ladies to do that?
Yes.
And then, of course, this would truly not be possible without all of the speakers that are here. And the fortunate thing about the speakers that are speaking today, guess what? You can listen very attentively. You can enjoy yourself. As often said, it's not what you said, but how you made me feel. And I'm sure you'll feel real good after hearing from some of these speakers. But if for some reason you want to continue that flavor, you want to continue that feeling, well, they've written a few books, so you can just buy the book. How about that? I think it's a good idea. We have our keynote speaker today, Ms. Rhonda Britton. Please give her a round of applause. You know, they told me I only had a few minutes to speak, but I had to say thank you to everybody. So there goes my few minutes. But in closing, ladies and gentlemen, you have been told to think outside of the box. Today, I encourage you not just to think outside of the box, but begin to manufacture more boxes and ship your product overseas and all around the world. You have been told that when someone gives you a lemon, what do you do with it? Forget that. Take the seed of the lemon and plant it and build an orchard. So ladies, today I encourage you to explore your possibilities, and there are over 2,500 women who will be here throughout this day. That represents somewhere around 2.5 million employees that they employ. And then if you extrapolate that, that's somewhere around 6 to 7 million customers. If we get connected to each one of those women, if we get connected to those customers, I will guarantee you that your business, your dreams, your aspirations, everything that you think about will be exponentially increased. So can you do me a favor today? Get connected. And in closing, let me tell you this quick story. I know I'm taking too much time, but let me tell you this quick story about my grandbaby. I'm talking about the grandbaby. Mine too. And so today, this morning, she came over to see me. And I had written this speech, and this speech was a fabulous speech. It said, "Thank everyone for the standing ovation." I couldn't print it out, so it must not have been meant to happen. But because I couldn't print it out, I was wondering what was going on. My AT&T phone wouldn't work. My Time Warner video wouldn't work. My SpaceX things wouldn't work. You know, the Herbalife, I couldn't wait to get to the Herbalife cream and so forth and so on. And I didn't know what was wrong. So my grandbaby came over to me and she said, "Papa, I know what's wrong." 4 years old. I said, "What, honey?" She says, "You're not connected." Get connected, ladies. Please welcome to the stage board member Betty Lee.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And welcome, welcome, welcome to our Connecting Women to Power Business Conference. Let's give another round of applause to the Honorable Jerome Horton and the Honorable Horton. And President Hagan, thank you. Thank you. It is really a privilege to be back on this campus, and you are absolutely right. We are partners in transforming lives and transforming communities, and I know today will just further that goal that we share with you. So not only is today a day of transformation, it is a day of celebration. It is a day of celebration. And we have so much that we have to applaud. So just about 8 million businesses in this country are owned by women. What do you think about that? And do you know how much women-owned businesses generate in annual receipts? Any guess? How about $1.2 trillion every year? What do you think about that? And women-owned businesses we're doing our job in generating jobs. We're doing our part in generating jobs. On average, women-owned businesses have about 8 employees. What do you think about that? And California, right here in California, we are home to about 1 million women-owned businesses. And in this rich region of Los Angeles, Long Beach, and to northern Orange County, we have about 40% of those million businesses that are owned by women. So we are in the heart of what I think is going to be what rescues our economy. Not only in California, but in our nation. So by show of hands, how many of you currently own your own business? Wonderful, thank you, thank you. Congratulations. And how many of you are here today because you want to start your own business? Excellent, well.
Reality television. During her 3 seasons on the hit daytime reality drama, Starting Over, Britta was named America's favorite life coach and was dubbed Starting Over's most valuable player by the New York Times. Rhonda has been featured in Good Housekeeping, profiled in the London Sunday Times, seen on Good Morning America, on the stage at TEDx, and the recipient of numerous awards, including the Smart Woman of the Year and Coach of the Year. As an author, she has had numerous hits, including 4 national hits based on her principles, including her #1 bestseller, Fearless Living, that's been translated over 16 languages, which features a groundbreaking work called The Wheel of Fear. Her other titles include Fearless Living, Change Your Life in 30 Days, and Do I Look Bad in This? I want to check that out. As the founder of the Fearless Living Institute, she is dedicated to giving anyone the tools they need to master their emotional fears. In her spare time, she trains coaches, develops fearless organizations, facilitates workshops, and speaks worldwide. Rhonda's tools are practical, her concepts inspirational, and she walks her talk. So, put your seatbelt on and get ready for a ride. Let's give a big Connecting Women to Power welcome to Rhonda Bridget.
You know, as I speak all over the world, I notice this one particular trait that we all do. And this one particular trait tells me everything I need to know about it. You've actually revealed everything I need to know right now about it. Everything I need to know. And this one thing tells me how you wake up in the morning, tells me how you treat a new opportunity, it tells me so much. And this one thing that you've already done that tells me so much is the way you clap. So think about how you just clap for me. Did you clap for me like this? I don't know her. She sounds awesome. If I like it at the end, I'll give her the old yeah. Or were you clapping like this? They made me come. Or were you clapping like this? Mm-hmm. Or were you clapping like this? By the way, nobody was doing that. So, how many people have watched Starting Over, seen me on TV? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I only work as hard as my audience does. So I just need to decide right now how you're going to be clapping, right? Then you're not actually waking up to your life and seizing the day, right? Yeah. Right? So, that's why, I don't know about you, but my goal in life is that I want each of you to wake up every morning like this. I am so happy to be alive. But not only this is what I really want you to do. I am so happy I get to be me all day. Oh my God, I get to be me all day. Like, how great is this? How many people that feel that way, right? I mean, we know way too many people that don't want to be who they are, right? And they come to workshops like this and events like this, hoping that they'll discover another part of them to take over the part of them that they don't particularly care for, right? Am I speaking the truth? Say hallelujah. When Yvonne started this morning, I was like, okay, I can do this, right? So this is the only thing that separates you from feeling that way every morning. There is only one thing that stops you from feeling so happy to be you every morning. Because that's how I want you to be. That's what I really wish for you. If I could give you any gift, that would be the gift, is that you actually are so happy to be you. And the only thing that stops you from being happy to be you is fear. That's right. It's fear. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how fear stops you. Now, I know that you're really intelligent women, but I bet you have some fears. Oh! Anybody feel this one? Tick, tock. This young woman here who's like 28, going, yes! I'm like, you got no idea, girl. Right? You know what I'm saying? She has no idea. And you get to be my age, you're like, you have no idea. All the people interested in thinking about, who raised their hand earlier about, yeah, I want to open my own business. I want to open my own business. I want to take the jump. Woo! You know somebody in this audience hasn't dated for 20 years and you're thinking about it. You know that's true, right? If there's anybody in the audience right now going, oh, then I invite you to take the jump. You know the number one way to build your business is public speaking? The number one way to build your business, and I don't care what you do or what you sell, the number one way to build your business is start speaking to community organizations, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, right? Whether it's a local Herbalife group. How many people want to do this? I'm sorry? Yeah, because this is how we really feel gold, right? We think about what we want to do. I mean, how many people have had a dream, right? You've had a dream. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have a dream. Or if you're here and you don't have a dream, I know you're here to get one. Right? You're like, I'm going there, and I hope it's inspiring, and I hope I get a little inspiration, I hope I get a little motivation, I hope I get out of my butt today. How many people have been hoping for a little nudge in the right direction to have more success in their life? Yeah. Consider this your nudge. Because usually what we're doing is we're trying to wait for the perfect nudge instead of taking the nudges that come. And this is the nudge. So I want to talk to you about fear. Because the physical symptoms of fear emotional symptoms of fear. I really want you to hear that. The physical symptoms of fear, when you are in a physical, fearful situation, when you're jumping out of a plane, is exactly the same when you are thinking about making a decision in your business and your life. When you're thinking about going on that first date, when you're thinking about opening up a new store, when you're thinking about shipping overseas, you are going to actually have physical symptoms for an emotional or mental decision. That's really super important, because this is what I want you to know. If you have a piece of paper, get it out right now. That's right, get out a piece of paper. If you don't have one out, get one out. And get out a pen, because you can't have paper without pen. Or grab your phone and take your notepad out, because you know you're going to take some notes. There's a difference between being an inspirational speaker and a speaker with content. I don't just want to inspire you today. Sure I do, of course I do. And I also want to motivate you today. I want you to feel excited about being you today. But more importantly, I want you to walk away with a tool that's really going to change your life. Does anybody want a tool to help you change your life? Okay, I'm going to actually share a tool with you, because I thought about what I wanted to share today. And I want to share something that really can have a huge impact today on your life. Because I want you to start understanding having a relationship with fear. So, it's all about fear. So let's see, first of all, how your fear shows up. Because I know there's somebody in the audience right now that's going, I don't have any fear. That's why we invited the men, right? Some people got that right. So, I want to talk about how fear shows up for you. So I want to do a little exercise with you right now. I'm a life coach, so it's all about fear buster exercises. So what I'd like you to do, in a minute, I'm going to ask you to stretch your eyes, but not quite yet. I'm going to show you how to do something before we shut our eyes. I would like you to nod your head. Let's nod our heads. Not inside our head. Let me see if anybody, there, come on. Oh yeah, you nod. Oh, you're doing good. You're nodding. Great, great. So you know how to nod your head. That's excellent. That's movement forward. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to read a list of words. And if you do any of these things, or feel any of these things, if you do any of these things, or feel any of these things, I want you to nod your head. Now I'm going to have everyone shut their eyes so nobody sees you nodding. So you can take full responsibility and nod away. So go ahead right now and shut your eyes. And I'm going to read these words. Now if your eyes are open, you are a control freak. Nod your head. Deny yourself. Keep those eyes shut. Do you ever isolate yourself? Do you ever pretend everything's okay when it's not? Do you ever assume? Do you ever hide out? Ever whine? Ever settle? Ever compare yourself? Ever try to manipulate a situation? Ever try to defend? How about judge? Do you suffer? Do you complain? Do you procrastinate? Do you wait and call patience? Do you blame? Do you struggle? Do you worry? Do you try to control things? Do you ever feel bitter? Ever feel powerless? Ever feel entitled? Ever feel resentful? Ever feel disappointed? How about guilty? How about irritated like now? Do you ever feel annoyed? Do you ever feel overwhelmed? Do you ever feel ignored? Go ahead and open your eyes. Anybody need a chiropractor? Right? How many people nodded their head on over 50%? Go ahead and raise your hand. Yeah, like all of us. So what we do is the language of fear. This is the language of fear. Worry. You can't worry unless you have a fear. You don't feel overwhelmed unless you have a fear. You don't feel guilty if you don't have a fear. So you might right now not walk around in your everyday life and say, I'm worried, I'm worried, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm scared, I'm scared. But you probably do say, I feel guilty, or I'm embarrassed, or I'm ashamed. So this is the language of fear. And the more, my job is to support you in understanding how the language of fear is actually the thing that I want you to focus on so that you can overcome it, so that you can master it, that you can actually become friends with it. Because fear can be a great ally. But when it shows up in so many different disguises, I don't know about you, but I just feel like I'm way behind, I'm crazy, and there's no help for me. How about you? You know, if I'm overwhelmed one minute, then guilty another, and then stressed out, you know, it just, Because fear, just let me, I want to tell you a little bit about fear. Fear is a trickster. It is insidious. It is silent. And it knows everything you know. Fear knows everything you know. So the more educated you get, the more educated fear gets. The more spiritual you get, the more spiritual it gets. The more knowledgeable you get, the more knowledgeable it gets. Because fear will use everything you know against you. All your values, fear will use those against you. Of course it will. You think your values of integrity can't be used against you? Oh, it can. It can be called rigid and closed-minded. So your values can actually be used against you. So fear is either a filter you look through, or freedom is a filter you look through. And today I want to support you in starting to understand the difference. So what is fear? Fear is both the cause and effect of the feelings, thoughts, or actions that prohibit you from accepting yourself and realizing your true potential. It is the only thing between you and it. It is the only thing between you and it. You need to learn some skills. Why aren't you learning them? Fear. You need some more partners. You need to network. You're not doing it? Fear. See, this is what I know to be true. You are not lazy. There is not one lazy bone in your body. And you are not a procrastinator. And you are not a perfectionist in the whim of having to be, I've got to do everything perfect. That's fear talking. So when anybody perfectionist in the room, you know you are. Come on. See, perfectionism, again, is a trait based in fear. So, your body's reaction to fear is the same, whether you're faced with physical threats or emotional. I already said that, and I want you to remember it. And I want to tell you a little bit about the brain. And then I'm going to give you the exercise. The brain responds. I mean, get this. I mean, just get this. Just get what this is up here, because this is mind-blowing. The brain responds to dangerous stimuli before it has all the facts. Is that not crazy? This is when I learned about this is crazy, because fear is actually part of our biology. You're not going to get rid of fear. If somebody tells you that they have no fear, they're lying. Because you actually want to have an experience of fear on a regular basis, because then you know that you're growing. If you never have fear in a powerful, positive way, that means you're not taking advantage of all your opportunities. But when I learned this, anybody ever know somebody that wants to find the why of why they're the way they are? Anybody ever know anybody, or maybe themselves, go, why? Why am I like this? Why? Why? Why am I doing this? I'm going to tell you why. It's fear. And this is the thing. I want you to quit looking for the why. And this is exactly the reason why. Our fears literally are handed down through our biology, through our DNA. You have fears that you've never actually had an experience of yourself. It's come down from your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your great-great-grandmother, and that literally goes through your DNA and is handed down. So if you want to spend your time finding out why? If I just find out why, I'll find the key and it'll unlock it and I'll be good. No, it'll just be something else. I mean, haven't you experienced it? You solved one problem in your life and you're like, got it solved, I'm good to go. Boom! And then another problem comes up. Anybody? Right? So it's like you solve one problem, you're feeling good, you're feeling hot, you're feeling amazing. And then another problem pops up and you go, what's wrong with me? What's my problem? Why is it still happening to me? Or how about the time when you solved a particular area of your life, you thought it was done, and then that same area comes up again? And you're like, are you kidding me? That's fear. And it's because we actually don't know how of how many fears are coming in at us from other people, and one is our ancestors. We can't erase fears. Get that? We can't erase fears. But let me tell you, I absolutely guarantee you that you can master them. You can't erase them. So the memories of your fears can actually not be erased. This is all neuroscience. And fear is always triggered by the unknown. So I think about your business. Think about your lives. Think about what you want to live. Think about the dreams you have. Think about what you want to make happen in your life. Do you have to step into the unknown to make those happen? So the minute you step in the unknown, like the minute, like you're like just about to, I always say freedom is only lived in the unknown. You cannot be free if you have to know everything. You cannot be free if you have to control everything. You cannot be free. Freedom is a direct correlation of how much you can live in the unknown. How uncomfortable you can be, and how comfortable with that uncomfortableness. Because that's what I want you to do. I want you to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So I want to get to, oh yeah, fear has only one job to keep you safe. I'm going to read that one again. Fear has only one job to keep you safe. Write that down. Because this is what I know to be true. Fear loves you. It absolutely loves you. It actually thinks you're the greatest thing on the planet. And it remembers when you were 3 and 5 and 8 and 12 and all those times that you got heartbroken. It remembers the times that things didn't work out for you. And it doesn't want those times to happen again. So it will stop you from going anywhere outside you and I, what we both know is the comfort zone. It does not want you to go outside that because it can control the comfort zone. It can't control anything outside of it. So fear is a great motivator. Fear is a great motivator. It probably opens some of your businesses up. But fear will never let you be satisfied. Fear is a great motivator, but it will never let you be satisfied. So I'm going to show you my exercise today that I want to share with you. It's called stretch, risk, or die. Go ahead and write that down. Stretch, risk, or die. I'm also going to give you these slides. So if you don't have a pen or paper and I'm going really fast, because I'm going to be going fast, just know that you're going to be able to get these slides. Okay? So you're welcome. So stretch, risk, or die. I'm also going to give you a series of videos so that you can really get further with this since I only have a little time today. So stretch, risk, or die. Comfort zone. Definition of comfort zone. Definition of comfort zone is your life right now. Whatever your life is right now is your comfort zone. Where you live, single, married, kids, no kids. Whatever your life is right now. Now notice I didn't say you were comfortable in it. Right? Notice I didn't say you were comfortable in your comfort zone. Usually we're not very comfortable. We're actually not very happy in our comfort zone. Because that's where we beat ourselves up, put ourselves down, judge ourselves. Okay? Anybody ever do that? This is what I know to be true in fearless living. This is the really cool thing about fearless living above all else. Fearless living, you actually quit beating yourself up. Is that not true? Imagine all the free time you have in your brain if you didn't have to beat yourself up. Think about all those creative juices you would have. Because every minute that you spend beating yourself up is your creativity is being used to create problems, not solutions. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'll say it again. So we can say it again. Every single minute you spend beating yourself and putting yourself down, judging yourself and comparing yourself and allowing fear to run your life, you are using the energy that you have to keep yourself down rather than use it in creative forces. We have energy. We are energetic beings. And we have to use our energy for our good, not against us. And every time that you beat yourself up, you actually are turning that energy against yourself. You are not having that energy available to create. You are not having that energy to create and do what you need to do. Right? So I'm going to quickly go through this. I just got the time thing, and I got so much to talk about. So we've got the stretch zone. Let me just quickly tell you what this is, and then I'll give you the videos, and I'll give you the slides so that you can do more of this by yourself or with your team. So the comfort zone is what you know. The stretch zone is the areas in your life that you know you can do, you just haven't done. Stretch is the areas you know you can do, you just haven't done. You know, walking around the block, we know we can do it, we just haven't done it. Risk zone. The risk zone are things you don't know if you can do. You're not sure you can do them. You don't know if you can make it, I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. The die zone is like, are you kidding me? I'm never doing that. So this is how I want you to use this tool. And again, I'm going to give you videos to go in depth with it. The regular to-do list. Anybody ever have a to-do list and they have their 10 things on their to-do list, right? You go number 1, check, 2, check, 3, check, skip 4. Do 5, skip 6, 7. Do 8 and 9. And you have the same list tomorrow with a couple things, and you still keep on skipping 4 and 6 and 7. The reason you keep skipping those steps in your life is because what you're not aware of is that those moments, those things on your little task list, the little things on your to-do list, actually have fear built into them. And so you keep skipping them because you don't know how to really do that in a powerful, positive way. And so you just keep skipping. You'll go, well, I'll get that later. And you say, oh, it'll take time. It'll be another, I'll just do that Friday. But Friday comes, it doesn't happen, right? Right? Because what you're forgetting, write this down, is you're losing the emotional component. And what I'm going to introduce you to in the series of videos I'm going to give you is the emotional component of moving forward and taking life by the stage. I wanted to use that other word, so. Right? So every time you're about to do something, whether it's something you know or don't know and you're hesitating, I guarantee you is that you've forgotten the emotional component of it and how it's related to what's going on in your life right now and how it relates to fear. So once you start understanding any goal you have, I'm going to show you a series of videos. I'm going to have you write down a goal, and then you're literally going to plot it out in a stretcher's die. I'm going to show you how to do it. And then you're going to be able to see why you haven't done that thing over and over again. Why you haven't done that networking meeting. Because it's not for the reason you think. You're not lazy, you're not stupid. You're not lazy, you're not stupid. So, I'm going to give you the Stretch Risk and Die mini course. So go ahead right now and text, if you want to grab your phone, and then I'll close up here. Go ahead and grab your phone right now, and you text the letter CWP, Connecting Women with Power, CWP, and the number is 310-895-9743. I'm going to leave this up here while I close. So if you text this, you're going to be able to get the slides, and you're going to be able to get the videos. But this is how I want to end. This is how I want to end. I know many of you are thinking right now, she's so young and so cute, how did she know this stuff? How did she become the #1 fear expert and the only person in the whole world that's created a model of fear that exists today? How could she be doing that? She's blonde and cute, come on. Well, I'm going to close with this story really quickly, because they're giving me the time thing like over and over again, and I'm like, okay. When I was 14 years old, my parents were getting divorced, and it was Father's Day. I hadn't seen my father for a little bit. And he was coming to take us to brunch. I grew up in a little tiny town. I don't know about you, but in the little tiny town I grew up, my parents didn't go out to brunch. We didn't spend money on dinner. We didn't, that's a lot of money. 3 kids, 2 parents, 5 people. What are you, crazy? We're not going out. And we only had 2 restaurants in our town. The Fancy Douglas House Buffet Hotel and Big Boy. That's it. And today we were going to the Fancy Douglas House Buffet, and I was pretty gosh darn excited. My mother sewed all my clothes for me. Anybody else? Mom sewed all their clothes, right? My mom sewed all my clothes. There were no sizes to compare. And she made me a beautiful white little dress, white scarf, black polka dots, scarf, wrapped it around my neck, thought I was Barbara Streisand. Let's see, the white dress was, I was 14, it was about, I don't know, about here. You remember the days, don't you, ladies? And we were getting ready to go out to the Sunday brunch, and my mom was putting on her blue eyeshadow. Right? It was in then, it's in now, that scares me. She's putting on a rose-colored lipstick, and then her beehive hairdo. Anybody remember the beehive? My mother used to go to the beautician every Friday, get her hair washed, combed, and curled in the shape of a beehive. And every Friday, between her Friday and Friday appointments to keep her beehive, she used to take that roll of toilet paper and wrap it around her head. Now I don't know why my parents got divorced. I'm wondering if it's the roll. my father's, like I gotta go grab my coat from the car. Now this coat was a tan, Naugahyde leisure suit coat. Naugahyde for the younger ladies in the room is fake leather. But everybody can attest that my father in his flat shirt, his polyester pants, and his tan Naugahyde coat look good. Now ladies, oh yeah. So as I'm walking out with my mom and dad, my dad's going to get his coat from the car. My sister's still in the bathroom fighting it out. And as mom and I walk out, I notice my dad grabbing something, but it's not a coat. He grabs a gun. And he starts yelling at my mother, "You made me do this. This is your fault. You made me do this." And he fires. Now I'm 14 years old and I start screaming, "Dad, what are you doing, Dad? Stop, what are you doing?" And he takes that gun and he cocks it and he looks right at me. And I absolutely think I'm next. And my mother, with already one bullet, father already shot her once. My mother, with her arms wrapped around her, trying to stay alive, sees that gun in my face. With my father on the other end, holding the trigger, and she screams, "No, don't." My father, realizing my mother's still alive, takes that bullet intended for me, turns to my mother and shoots her a second time. The second bullet goes through my mother's abdomen, out her back, and lands in the car horn. And for the next 20 minutes, all I heard was, and then my father came right next to me, got on his knees, put the bullet, shot himself. Within 2 minutes, I was the sole witness to my father murdering my mother and committing suicide. Now, I don't know about you, what you would do, but this is what happened to me. I blame myself. You want to look at the queen of beating yourself up? You want to look at the queen of putting yourself down and thinking you're a piece of doo-doo? You're looking at her. For the next 20 years, I tried to kill myself 3 times. I had nightmares every single night. Every single night, my father was chasing me. Every single night, I would wake up and pray I would be dead. And it was that third suicide attempt that I realized something. I'm not very good at killing myself, not skilled at it. They didn't have coaches back then. And I got to figure out another way. I went to therapy, I went to workshops, I did all that stuff. It all gave me tools, but it didn't fundamentally make me feel different about how I felt about me. Gave me tools, gave me skills, that was all good. But in the middle of the night, I was like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I feel better about me? I'm working so hard, I'm doing so many things. What is wrong with me? Anybody ever feel that way? You're working so hard, you're doing so many things. It's like, why can't I get this? Why can't I be happy? What's my problem? And this is how I'm going to end today. It's not you. It's fear. If you hear nothing else today, this is what I want you to hear. And I want you to take it, and I want you to put it in your heart, and I want you to keep it there forever. If you never hear my name again, if we never meet again, if this is the only time we ever connect, if you never watch those videos or ever look at those slides, this is what I want you to hear above all else. There is nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. And fear is seductive, it is insidious, and it's tricking you, and it's been tricking me, but no more. So what I invite you to do is watch those videos. What I invite you to do is use those slides and watch the videos, and it's going to all make sense. And I'm going to actually, not only on those slides am I going to tell you stretch, risk, or die, but I'm going to actually go into a deeper explanation of fear and how to master it. Anybody interested in that? Yeah. So this is what I know to be true. I don't want you to go through life like this. Oh, I check it out. I don't want you to go through life like this. I want you to go through life like this. Yeah, bring it on! Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you.
So let's explore some of that difference. Now, I usually don't publicize a book or promote a book, but this is a good book. I talked about this last year, and I'm going to talk about it again. This is a book worth your time picking up. This book really gives you some concrete ideas about women as leaders, and some of the differences between women as leaders in contrast to men as leaders. So for many of you, this may help you understand some of the conflicts or issues that you may have experienced in your struggle to be an effective leader. When we talk about someone who is an effective leader, there are a number of common characteristics that come to mind. One of the first ones is honesty and ethical. Through that individual's action, you feel that they are being honest and they are being ethical in the types of actions they are taking as a leader. The second common characteristic of a leader is the ability to delegate. Leaders create a group of individuals that are going to be their followers. These are the individuals that believe in the vision and the ideas of that leader, and they are prepared to help. So a leader has to be able to delegate and have people who are prepared to pick up and work. Effective leaders stir your soul. An effective leader pulls you in, sends that rush down your spine. An effective leader is someone that makes you feel you want to be part. You want to share in what that individual is building and creating. Communication is essential for an effective leader. The fifth element is what we would call confident in oneself and in what others can do. This is the tricky one for a leader. A leader must be confident, but not arrogant. Confident in what they can do, and they also can see what you could do for the cause or for the organization. And they can pull that out of you. That's very powerful for a leader. The sixth thing that we have is that they are committed. And they are committed not by the words they use, but by what they do. They walk the talk. Commitment of a leader is that they're there, they show up, they, through their actions, demonstrate a commitment. The seventh element of an effective leader is positive. They have a positive attitude. Many times when a leader is trying to challenge or take on a cause, it's an uphill battle, and it doesn't always look good. You're not going to achieve your goal. And so a positive attitude is very important to continue to keep individuals committed to what you want in your goal or your cause. The eighth element is to be creative or innovative in terms of the different things you have for your organization. And the final piece is the piece of inspiration. Now, think about that leader that you wrote down. That individual. All of these different characteristics are not found in all leaders. There are different pieces of those. And oftentimes for us, it is one of two of these key characteristics that really inspire us, that cause us to choose or believe in that leader. And if you want to be a leader for a cause, for an organization, you need to have an honest review of these ideas and identify the strengths you already have, and then identify the ones that you're weak in, and work to build those things as a leader. To me, leaders sometimes are born. They emerge out of hardship. They emerge out of a crisis or a problem that they feel passionate about. But all of us could be a manager. Now, when I first became a manager, I went through a period of saying, all right, my management style is going to be collaborative. Everybody says collaborative. You don't want to say, my management style is going to be dictatorial. You don't want to say it's going to be top-down, and yet, in most organizations, top-down is very effective because you can get things done. Collaborative is very problematic. You have to have lots of people get involved. You have to spend time talking to people. You can't just set things up and make it happen. But it is not sustainable. That kind of authoritarian and dictatorial model is not effective. But also, the collaborative model is not very effective if you want to move forward, if you want to have progress. If at the end of a year you want to say, we have changed, we have transformed, we achieved. What I offer here is my lesson learned in management. When you look at this is designed, let me step over here so you can kind of see, you're not looking around my head. This is designed on 3 different characteristics. One characteristic is the assumption, and the assumption that organizations have a hierarchy. So to be an effective manager, you need to understand where your employee is, each employee is in the hierarchy. Where are they in that hierarchy? The second element in this is understanding their individual skill set. What can they do? What new skills can they acquire? And the third piece is what I would call their knowledge, their background, their knowledge that they are bringing to the organization and to that job. So I have 3 pieces: where they are in the organization, their skill set, and then their knowledge. Why this becomes important is that it allows you as a manager to create. Now remember, I am a university professor. So managers, to me, your responsibility is to create learning experiences for your staff. If you create these learning experiences, your staff will continue to grow, will continue to be an ongoing, vibrant contributor to your organization. Learning experiences. So the way to do that is I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to go down. If we start at the top of this, we're talking about basic. Someone who is entry level in the organization. Someone who comes in with minimal experience and what I would call basic skill set. A lot of times these were people who are your receptionists, these are people who are the staffers, they're the main greeters of individuals, they are the people running around getting things and pulling things together. Those individuals, for you as a manager, you have to start with specific tasks that you're very clear in what you want them to do and a specific timeline of when you want them to complete it. Through that type of process, it begins to build the confidence of that individual. It also allows you to begin to give this individual more and more tasks that are more and more complex as they acquire more and more new skills. But You must be explicit. I want you to do this, and you have this much time to do it. It builds confidence. The second level is that intermediate level. The intermediate level is someone that needs to have a task defined, a timeline, but then you ask them to make revisions in the task given what they think may be needed. What are we doing here? Independent thinking. Responding to changes in whatever the situation was. These individuals that are in the intermediate level are the individuals that you want to see grow into those supervisor positions. And so you have to create learning environments that give them an opportunity to practice that type of skill set. Defining the task. The task has 4 different pieces in it. I get halfway through and I realize, no, I left out a really important piece. Okay, let's talk about that. What do you think now the new timeline would be? How would you approach that? This element of constructive feedback is critical because it will create in an employee a willingness to come to you and say, I'm having a problem and I need to talk about it. Instead of, I'm going to hide this and maybe my manager won't know that I screwed up. And then we have to clean up this mess that we have. Having that sense of, I have a problem and I'm not sure how to address it, or here's how I think I'm going to handle the problem, and then I, as the manager, says, sit down and tell me what you think you want to do. Well, that's one way to handle it, but maybe there's another way to handle it. Constructive feedback. Constructive feedback is critical to get someone to move down to the initial supervisor level. Someone at this level then becomes responsible for setting up the plan of what we're going to do. I, as the manager, no longer define the plan. You, as the employee, will define the plan. Then you'll come and show it to me. I'll react to it. I'll make suggestions. We'll revise that plan. You then provide me with regular updates. Now, this regular update is the biggest problem at this point, because if you don't give regular updates as a manager, then you as the manager will be held responsible for the failure or problems. Because this employee needs to build their confidence as a manager. That's what's going on here. They need to give you regular updates and have you say, that's really good the way you dealt with Mary. Or I think having John do that one project was a really good idea. Or maybe Jane wasn't up for that task. What could we have done to help Jane be successful at that task? You must give feedback, because that feedback expands this individual's ability to create a viable plan that does what? Defines and gives specific tasks to those individuals they're beginning to supervise and monitor. We then get to this level. These are the levels where you have to inspire these individuals as a leader. Not just a manager, but as a leader. Because if you don't inspire them, they're going to leave. You've spent all this time training them. You spent all this time, and then they're going to turn around, and what are they going to do? They're going to take all that you have taught them, and they are going to go away. And you have to start all over again. So at this moment, when you have these individuals that are project and program, and many of you in the audience, you've been there. You've had a job. You've been working for 5, 8 years. You are not appreciated. My supervisor really doesn't know what I do. My supervisor doesn't even check on what I'm doing until something goes wrong. And then they show up. At this point, you have to bring that person in to be a collaborator. What are your ideas in designing the project? And then my job as the manager is to validate those ideas that you have developed and acknowledge your contribution in the process. Give you credit, validate what you're doing, because through that, it will build your confidence. The last one is the innovator. And I would argue to be successful in companies today, given the global environment, given the use of technology, critical to have your innovators and keep them with you. Innovators are your sounding blocks. They are the ones who come and say, you know, this is crazy, but I think we might want to try this. This would be a good idea. Or I, as the manager, can go into them and say, you know, I think we're losing our edge in these things. What could we do different? How can we reach out? What kind of change could we make? These innovators have to be part of a dialogue with you. And if you create dialogue, then your company will do what? Continue to expand, grow, and be dynamic. But if you don't, what happens to those people? They leave. They go away. And then eventually your company begins to stagnate. So, management skills are very different from leadership skills. Going back to that individual that you identified as a manager, if you think about that individual, what did they do that made them that good manager for you? One of these skill sets, maybe a couple, are what kept you believing that they were a good manager. Now, I kind of give you here in this slide a summary of success. I can only tell you that if you accept one thing on that slide, you will be a much better manager. And it is the last statement. There is not one size. Successful managers are responsive. It's critical that they are responsive to the community, responsive to the resources, and responsive to the people you work with. We are growing in our society to become more and more technology-driven, superficial, some people say. A successful manager is one who remains human. They can laugh at themselves. They can join in and be part of the company. Really have a human face, and that will make them successful. So that concludes my presentation, this difference between manager and leadership. As we shift over to our second presenter, you want to remember that throughout today, you're going to be looking for and exploring these ideas of leadership and management. And each of you need to try those skills on. Practice today. Share, build your network. This is what today is about. Reach out. Future employees are here today for you. Future opportunities to be part of new experiences. Develop your skills today. Enjoy.
I'd like to pick up on a topic that mention, and that is that there is not a one-size-fits-all model for leadership or successful management. My theory has always been you have to find your own way, and that's really the way my career developed. You know, you try one path, it doesn't work, you try something else. And I think that I'd like you to bear that all in mind as I talk, because I'm going to talk today primarily about a couple of issues that have come up in terms of trying to explain why we don't see more women at higher levels of management, either in companies, academia, government, and across the board. And my theory, again, has always been, you know, I've sat through a lot of leadership conferences, I've sat through different training courses, I've attended workshops on leadership, and at some level I always felt like I was being dictated to. In other words, women just don't do this right, or women just don't do this the way they should be perceived as an effective leader. And I don't like that, and I don't think you should like that either. So the resources I used, I'm going to introduce to you and then talk about them a little bit, and then urge you to just go look at them yourself and see what you get out of it. You may perceive it differently than I do, or you may find it very beneficial or not, but my talk will largely be shaped by an article that I read a couple of months ago in the Atlantic Monthly, which is a very good journalistic publication for those of you who are not familiar with it. And if you are, I will just refer to it because a lot of my ideas have come from here, and I want to give the Atlantic Monthly credit. But two journalists, Claire Shipman, who is a reporter for ABC News, and Patty Kay, who is an anchor for the BBC, but she's BBC America, so we see her here too, wrote this article in May called Closing the Confidence Gap. And I mentioned my email. I think you all should read it, and I'll be happy to send you the article after the fact. But that shapes a lot of what I'm going to talk about here today. And essentially, this closing the confidence gap comes down to two things that, and they're two sides of the same coin, and it's confidence and risk-taking. Women don't exert enough confidence or exhibit enough confidence in the workplace, and therefore they don't take risks, and they don't do the things they need to do to actually succeed at the highest levels. And these two women, Claire and Patty Kay, are very successful, and they very honestly talk about their own experiences and about how even as they rose up through the ranks, and both of them were in very powerful positions as newscasters when they were very young, they had serious doubts about themselves, and they were always like, how did I get here? You know, I'm just an imposter going through the motions. So they elicit these same sort of traits, if you will, in themselves that we're probably all experiencing. And of course, men experience them too. But their bottom line is kind of like men are just kind of better at faking it. It kind of comes naturally. You know, whether they're qualified for a job, we'll get into this in just a little bit here, they'll apply for it if they want it. But we think, you know, we got to be perfect. We have to be 100% qualified, or we're not going to go for it. And they acknowledge, Patty Kay and Claire Shipman, that, you know, we were the same way, and we still are. You know, we have all these doubts, so we don't go for it. The other things that influence my talk, and I'm going to get to them first and talk about the article last, is I have recently viewed a couple of women talking about leadership on TED Talks. And I don't know, does everybody know what TED is here? Or, well, that's great, because I think TED is just one of the greatest and most exciting intellectual stimulators that's out there on the internet. And it really has done a very successful job of expanding from what was kind of, in my view, an elitist conference in Long Beach, California, to a worldwide phenomena that brings together all kinds of great thinkers in every kind of area you can imagine. So there's 2 TED Talks, and I'll mention them right now so that you can go take a look at it. If you're not familiar with TED, TED is a kind of intellectual academic conference where people get together and they just talk about ideas. Like I say, it ranges all over the board, from politics, from government, from education. One of the women that I'm going to talk about was an educator and had very, very inspiring ideas. The other one is a Harvard professor in social psychology. And but TED is so broad. I mean, one of my favorite TED Talks is actually about an expert in predatory birds, and he described a lot about the habits of predatory birds, and it was very fascinating. But anyway, you get the picture. The first one is Amy Cuddy, and she gave a talk at TED Global in 2012, and I believe this was held in Australia. And her deal, if you will, is social psychology, and the whole TED Talk was about body language. And she did talk about, you know, the various gender differences in body language. And what I'm doing right now, which is going like this, is bad body language. But she starts the presentation by saying there are certain characteristics that make not just the human animal look powerful, but any animal in the animal kingdom. And that posture is obviously to make yourself look big, like this. We've all seen this, right? And she said people do this instinctively, as do other animals. And people will do it even if they're blind. That when they feel powerful, that this big spread is very natural. Well, that's just the start of the talk, and as I say, you ought to watch it because her theory is, well, we all know the mind can change the body.
Could you give her name again?
Her name, I'll spell the last name because I'm not even sure I know how to pronounce it.
Do you
Amy?
have these slides also? Or no?
No, I don't have slides.
Could we get your slides?
Oh, my slides? Sure.
Sorry.
My slides, they used to upload them, but if you email me, I'll just don't.
Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
All right, so if you want the lady's name, it's Amy, and her last name is Cuddy, and she spoke at TED Global in 2012. So if you search it on the internet, you will be able to get it. And if you need to sign up for TED to get it, it's free, so that shouldn't, pose too much of a problem. But anyway, she said we know the mind can change the body. In other words, our mind motivates us to get our body going sometimes. There's a lot of different things that we can be motivated to do. We can be motivated to train for a marathon. We can be motivated to lose weight. We can be motivated, to relax if you know how to do it properly. But she said, can our body change our mind? And they got into all these real detailed studies, and the bottom line on them was that when people were ready to move into an alpha role, in other words, they had been promoted or they had all of a sudden had some leadership position thrust upon them because there was no one else around, that they detected there were actually different surges of both hormones and other chemicals in their body that kind of gave them the strength. So it was actually the body itself changing what it is these people thought about their ability to be leaders. And that's why they ultimately conclude this, that it isn't, as somebody sort of jokingly asked them, they're like, well, if you're going in for an interview and you want to project a level of confidence to the interviewer, according to your theory about body language, you ought to sit in the interview like this. And they show it, and that's what's great about this talk. It's like the slides are great. And they were like, no, that's not what we're trying to say. What we're trying to say is just do it before you go in. make yourself big, make yourself powerful, and it will help get your mind where you need it to go. So that's what I'm going to say about that right now, but I recommend it to you because it kind of went viral as much as a TED Talk can go viral. And I think people are just inherently interested in body language, but it does affect us, certainly as women, in terms of how we project our own power. The second person that I'd recommend you to on TED Talks is a woman named Angela Lee Duckworth, and she was at TED New York in 2013. So Angela Lee Duckworth, like the animal, Duckworth. And she's a psychologist too, but her background is in education. And she gave a brilliant 7-minute talk. It was far shorter than most TED Talks. And her whole theme in terms of leadership was we need to instill, both in the people that we're attempting to lead and in our children, grit, G-R-I-T. And when you stop and think about it, I mean, this got my attention right away. She defines grit as having passion and perseverance to achieve long-term goals. And her talk is so interesting that I recommend it to all of you because she herself projected a lot of confidence, and she's not a big woman at all. And she's a very young woman, which to me said a lot about just her presentation because, the way I think, the older somebody is, the more respect I give them, and I just sort of afford them a natural leadership. But I think especially for all of you younger people of any gender, it's just difficult. People don't automatically respond to youth. But this woman has very good body language and made a good presentation, but the point of the presentation wasn't body language in that case. It was about grit and how to instill it in people. And she talked about all the studies that she had done from people that she had been involved with over the years in education, and about how people, even the most intelligent and even the most talented, were often not successful because they simply didn't have that long-term, I can do it attitude. And what's important in this talk is that they never took the risks to fail. And their inability to go out there and actually experience failure held them back, because failure is a learning opportunity. And of course, we don't want to fail. Nobody wants to do that, but we will fail. And so the issue for a lot of us is, we have to be perfect again. We have to approach something in a way where if it's not done perfectly, we're not going to do it. And if you don't do it, you're not going to get ahead. And just talk about the article. The interesting thing about both of these newscasters, and I want to note in passing that, ever since, I guess I was in law school, these newswomen are really out there. Think about Barbara Walters. She's been out there being the first of this and the first of that forever, and Connie Chung, and a lot of other newscasters that just seem like they're very interested in these gender issues. But the funny thing about both of them, as I mentioned, is they didn't think they were deserving of the positions that they had. And Patty Kay even said that the only reason she thought she had been successful in America is because she had a British accent. So, there you have it. So they're not preaching, they're not talking down to anybody and saying, hey, look, you need to do this, or you need to do that. They're just saying, this is what we've done, think about it, figure it out for yourself. But I want to leave you with a couple of things that I took out of this article, just for you to think about, and again, you'll see it if you read it. But they claim, first of all, that there is a vast confidence gap that separates the sexes. That's a pretty extreme statement. But they also note that women are afraid to fail, women are perfectionists, and perfectionism, we're not perfect. That's just all there is to it, but you can still lead a company no matter how imperfect you are, and even how many mistakes you make. One thing I like to do in terms of looking at leadership issues is read about leaders. I wrote a book a couple of years ago on Winston Churchill. There's millions of books, but any leaders. There's lots of books about women leaders. Hillary Clinton, she just brought out a book. But read about them because they talk about their mistakes, and they've made many mistakes. Nobody wants to ever publicize them, but they have. And I think it's good to learn from them that way. They also talk about obsessing. You know, we obsess over our failures. There's no reason for that. They talk about a little bit about nature versus nurture, if you know what that is. It's like, well, are we women and this is the way we are and this is what we're going to do versus this is the way we've been conditioned to think. I think that's a lot of politically correct nonsense myself, but it's like, hey, you know what? There's some truth to it. So take a look at it and think about it. And last but not least, and I think it's also telling, but they're not ever, and I would never, you know, it doesn't mean go out there and act like a man, even though, you know, really, like I say, men, they kind of have it down. It's like, yeah, I want that job. I'm going to get it. I'm incompetent, but who cares? You know? and I'm not saying, because, you know, just across the board, I don't know, you know, you have levels of success and levels of failures in terms of competence in both genders. There isn't that much difference, and that's what these studies show. It's just that we haven't been able to put our thoughts in terms of our capabilities into action. But the lesson isn't don't act like a man. The lesson is be yourself and figure out what they're doing that can help you get ahead. So thank all of you for coming.
We were told that we have you until 11:40. Yeah, think about that. Yeah, 11:40. This is like the end of class, and everybody's like, okay, maybe she'll let us go early. I really like.
My question is, do we want managers to actually be leaders? Because you had said earlier that maybe leadership is born out of certain kind of circumstances, but what about, do we want managers to be leaders?
The question is, but do we take those managers and encourage them to become leaders? Have them evolve into leaders? There's lots of people who say that the idea about becoming a leader comes out of that need, that problem, that challenge, and leaders rise out in those situations. I think in a lot of organizations, if the organization continues to evolve and change, they have to have leaders in them. If they don't, they're going to stagnate, and they'll be taken over or something will happen. But I think they're also, especially when we look at social and political, a lot of leaders are born out of those moments of history, born out of tragedy, born out of a personal sacrifice, personal story, and given those, then they're forced to do that. Any thoughts?
As far as can somebody be a successful manager while having the traits of a leader, is that the question? Or did I misunderstand it? You know, I don't see the two as mutually exclusive at all. I think if you're going to manage, people have to look up to you. And management is especially difficult because, as Kay mentioned before, a manager has to inspire people. I mean, a manager really has the worst of all possible worlds. You know, they have to put out fires, they have to deal with employee conflict every day. And then they actually have to also find time to implement strategic goals. And I think, you know, the real characteristics of both a good manager and a good leader is how do you balance that all and bring it all together? How do you keep people organized? How do you keep people working and inspired? So I don't think they're mutually exclusive at all, but I do think that the American idea of leadership is that, you know, you're going to be John Wayne or something, you know, but I don't see it that way, because I was thinking about leaders and in my own mind about, because I have this thing about, I mean, is there a leadership personality? It's such a common question. I don't think there are. I mean, for women or for men, you know, I've met so many different types of people that I was inspired by in the professional workplace, and I think they're all different. I think, again, that comes down to authenticity as opposed to being a dominant personality type.
Last year here at the university, I was tasked with, university, lots of people, we think, wow, lots of people work for you. I was tasked with creating a new faculty development center here on campus, and my staff was, and I was asked to do a personal network and professional network that fulfilled all that list. The basic manager, the individual doing the planning, the individual doing this, and I had to take the work and fragment it out across those different individuals and create a virtual office of people who did stuff for me. Small business or entrepreneurial, you've got to be lean and mean. You can't afford to hire, 10, 20 people. So in terms of being lean and mean, you have to be really clear on what you need to do. What's the project? What's the task? What's the timetable? And then you have to know the people that are working with you. What's their skill set? Her skill set is doing all those amazing visuals and those displays. This person over here, her skill set is the Excel and doing all that. I can't do that. So use those people for the skill sets they have and also give them an opportunity to stretch. Remember we talked about that, stretch. Do that. But I think the other piece, you see that? Oh, over here. The other thing that has to come in those small businesses when you're lean and mean is the other point that we had here, grit. You got to take it on. You've never done it before. You get a unique contract, you get a unique opportunity, and you go, I've never done that before. No. And you say, sure, we can do that. We can do that. You want me to develop a proposal? We can do that. And then you go back and you start calling people. My God, I need some help here. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this. Come on. By reaching out and doing that grit element, what will happen? People will begin to say, hey, you should contact her. She does this amazing legal consulting. You should go and talk to her.
My question is, what do you think are your thoughts on management and leadership in organizations that rely on the managing up skill level and push that back on the employee? Do you think that they're avoiding their job as a manager or a leader by pushing that back on an employee to manage up at all times versus the growth and mentoring?
Management by default, as I call it, where they don't manage anything and they just let the employees kind of fight it out.
Term is what they push back on you versus taking responsibility as a manager or a leader. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I call management by default. And, a lot of times, people have different theories about it. I don't like it because I don't think that it fosters the kind of camaraderie and teamwork you need to get things done. I mean, the people are learning, they need to understand more about their own positions, and they need to understand what the goals of any organization they're in are, and the manager is supposed to communicate that to them. And, management by default, as I've seen it work, and I've been in law firms like that, is it's like nobody really controls anything, and then, when there's a conflict, really they just let people fight things out amongst themselves, and it really doesn't work. And what it does is it just means that there's always conflict in that organization and nobody goes anywhere. So no, I'm not a proponent of that at all, and I think it's an abdication. But again, you can't do a lot about it sometimes because there are different reasons people get promoted, and it's not that they're bad, but it's just the way it is. Seniority still plays a big role with a lot of promotions, and loyalty to the organization. Competence does play a role, and sometimes, again, salesmanship. The people that really want to be managers are out there pushing to be managers, regardless of whether they have the experience to do it or not. So.
All right.
In the time. Hi, my name is Colette Moore, and I'm the owner and strategic partner for a local Pride staff agency here, providing administrative staffing as well as warehouse and industrial staff to clients, trying to help people get jobs and trying to help clients find great candidates and great employees for their businesses.
And how are you enjoying the empowerment of women so far?
I am really enjoying this conference. This is my third year actually here, and every time I come I get some insights today, some really great insights about being fearless actually in the way that you operate, also on leadership and how the difference between leadership and a manager, and how to be more confident as a woman in the workplace and also leading people. I have a staff of 2 currently on my team looking to expand, and this is a great opportunity to network and then also learn some new things to be a better business owner.
Hi, I'm Jana Koch, and I'm a wardrobe consultant. I actually help people define their personal style and work with them on their closets. I'm really enjoying the Connecting Women to Power conference. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning better management and leadership skills and how to overcome my fears. It seems like that's the theme within this conference, so I'm really enjoying it.
Hello, my name is Terry Jones, and I'm actually a school teacher with LA Unified. This is my first time attending, and I think it's a great opportunity for women to network together and just to get more points of interest for businesses that they might want to start and to help build their own businesses. But I think it's great, and I'm really enjoying myself and enjoying the women that I'm meeting here. Thank you.
My name is Claudia Lozano. I am here on behalf of Velocity Vehicle Group. I'm the controller of the Freightliner dealerships, and we are having a great time here together. This is something that's really great. We are learning to empower ourselves, just gaining more connections and just growing as people. It's also my first time. I'm definitely going to come back next year.
Yes,
this is no problem.
And go.
So Tatiana, is this your first event?
Yes, this is my first event. This is my first time. I actually got a brochure in mail and took a vacation day from my full-time job at Claremont McKenna College to come and learn about running the business.
So the type of business that you have, is it one that a lot of people would get behind you to support?
I believe so, because none of us can live without it. It's fashion. And right now I'm doing high fashion, and I just had a 1-year anniversary of my very first collection, Contrast, and my label goes under my name, which is TatianaShabelnik.com.
Okay, and where can people find that if they were looking for it on the web?
I do have a website, which is TatianaShabelnik.com. I do have an online store over there. As for my high-end items, the one that I showed at LA Fashion Week, those ones are samples, so they're not in production yet. For these purposes, I will need investors and starting a production, basically. As for my scarves line, one of them I'm wearing right here, those ones are all available. They are available online. They are available as custom made. Basically, I saw them myself. Just a couple of weeks ago, I had an order from Santa Barbara, one of the biggest boutiques in Santa Barbara, and I completed the order within 1 week on the top of my full-time job. So I was sewing after work till midnight, and I delivered this.
That's very exciting. And do you go to other types of women's conferences to learn about business opportunities, or what other types of business events have you gone to? Any sponsored by the Board of Equalization?
None, literally. This is my first one. Actually, I'm very excited because just yesterday I had 2 students from our college who said that they would love to be my interns. And one of them is a daughter of a president of the college. So this is really exciting. So I'm looking forward to start working with them. I do have already one intern. She actually lives in Moreno Valley. And she came to my place. She already did all the garments descriptions for me, and she'll be doing some samples. She's very interested in becoming fashion designer herself.
Do you think other women could benefit from coming to these type of events?
It's phenomenal in terms of getting all the knowledge, because like even for people knowing the difference between LLC and corporation, all kinds of legal issues, meeting interesting people, networking. This is the key. Without networking, nothing is possible. You can be as brilliant as you can be. No PR, no networking, no business. That's my vision. So, and I'm lucky I met you today.
Thank you very much. This is Mary Williamson coming to you live from the California State Board of Equalization Women's Conference 2014. Back to you.